Welcome to the Signature Sip podcast, a real estate podcast with myself, John Steingraber, and my beautiful wife, Michelle Pais. Cheers to the beginning of Signature Sip. I feel like now we're back and we have a lot to give. We have a lot to offer.
Till this day, by the way, I have to say, the excitement happens the second I land the deal, not when I get paid. It's the art of the deal, landing that up.
Right, it's the chase. Not only are we going to be giving a lot of wisdom and knowledge and experiences and stories, but we're going to bring on guests.
I bartended, babe, so something that you and I have in common, even though...
Babe, you bartended for how long?
3 months?
A day or two?
It's a podcast.
So you were like eating a tosta mista in Emily's bakery.
I think I was having a pastel de nata.
Okay, pastel de nata.
And a galon.
And if you're a realtor, if you're an investor, you're going to want to subscribe to this podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining the Signature Sip. Hey, baby.
Hey, honey.
How are you today?
You ready for this?
I'm ready for this. Today's topic is...
running a real estate brokerage.
Great topic. And I think we're more than qualified to answer that, right? I mean, we've been doing this for a really, really long time. And I just can't wait to kind of get started and give everybody your tips and tricks and insights on, you know, what it takes to run a successful real estate brokerage. And is it for everybody? I know that a lot of people have aspirations of owning. And, you know, there's definitely some great things about being an owner, but there's obviously some things that are not so great. So let's just dive in. Let's give them as much info as possible. You know, for those of you that don't know our story, John came from the investment side of real estate. Him and I got together as a couple in 2016, right? And at the time, we were speaking all around the world for fortune builders, educational seminar, how to buy, fix, and sell real estate. And I had owned Signature Realty. I had been an owner since 2009. And we joined forces. I broke up with my partner. You were just ready to take this journey with me. Signature Realty had been in existence for 7 years, I think, before you decided to come on board.
Well, why don't we go back and talk about like why you started the real estate brokerage? Because that's, you know, the topic is running a real estate brokerage. Just give everybody like a quick synopsis, because there's a lot of agents out there. Some of them have gotten their broker's license. There's independent brokers out there that decided to go off on their own, just like you. Mm-hmm. So, you know, why? What was the main reason?
I think I wanted to just have my own signature in the world. And I know that sounds weird because the name is Signature Realty, but I just didn't like the way offices were ran. I worked for a big box brokerage. It was very corporate. I didn't like the culture. I didn't like the environment. I didn't like the splits. I just didn't.
But
like
how many brokers were you with up until that point?
I started off with Signature Real Estate, which was a mom and pop, and then they ended up.
That's where you were a secretary and like.
That's right. I was a secretary there, and then they sold to Coldwell Banker, and then that whole experience wasn't the best. And I think it was
So they sold the brokerage to Coldwell.
That's right. And I think...
and you stayed.
And I stayed at Coldwell. And then I think 2 or 3 months in, I just wasn't happy. I'm like, this is not what I had signed up for. And I wasn't necessarily happy with Singer either. That wasn't a good experience either, right?
So you were just basically at Coldwell.
I was just at Coldwell at the time.
Like that, well, Singer turned into Coldwell, but it was basically the same company.
That's right.
And then you just opened up.
And then I just wanted to open up. I'm an entrepreneur. So if it wasn't real estate, if it was something else, I wanted to, you know, at a certain point, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to open up law offices. So it was just the entrepreneurial side has always been there. And just so happens that real estate was where I landed. And I wasn't content just being a sales agent. I just wasn't. I wanted more. I wanted my own brand. I wanted my own shop, my own rules, my own way of doing things, not having to ask for permission all the time. I went out and I took a big leap of faith. It was 2009 during the horrible economic crash. Real estate offices were closing down and we were opening up. And it was a tough year, but it was a good year for us. And we started off with two agents, my partner and I at the time. Then we hired Our first hire was our secretary, Phyllis Moriello, who is, by the way, still with us, longest lasting employee. But I was still a producer, right? I love production. I love selling homes, and that's what I love to do. And then the real estate brokerage, that was a whole nother piece to it. And I have to say that if I knew back then what I knew now, would I have opened a brokerage? Probably not, and I'm being honest, because...
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting to.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have.
Like there's agents that, maybe they're not happy where they are.
Right.
Like you weren't.
No.
You didn't really experience, like 3, brokerages or 4 brokerages, or really saw what else was out there, right? You were just unhappy, and then you were like, okay, you saw an opportunity, I guess, with that other partner, and then you just opened up. And it was different back then.
Like, it was such a different culture, right? The offices were different. Real estate was different. Leadership was different.
So if you were to open up just, for the purpose of the topic, right, running a real estate brokerage, would you, if you were to start over now, would you start a brokerage?
Probably not.
Why not?
It's a whole nother ball game, right? I mean, let's face it. I have you, and we have our incredible leadership team, and you're the force behind it all. And then obviously we have everyone else in place. So I play a part, but I play a small part, right? I'm not I'm not in the trenches. You guys are, right? So if you're
right,
asking
you're in the
me,
sales trenches still.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But
and building the team.
Which I love doing that, by the way. So I do love working with the team. I am definitely somebody that likes to keep things small, being able to have some sort of more control. Yeah.
And there's a lot of independent brokers that are smaller than your team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
You have a team and you guys sell 250, 300 homes a year. I mean, that's what some small brokerages do, and
right.
not even.
Well,
sometimes they don't even sell that many.
Yeah, and I guess it's the Michelle Pais Group is almost a brokerage within a brokerage.
Right.
Right. So in
they
essence,
call it like
I am
a team
running,
ridge.
Right. What do they call it?
Team ridge.
Team ridge.
Like it's not a team, it's not a brokerage, it's a team ridge.
I was going to say, did you just make that up?
No.
Okay.
I didn't.
Never heard of that.
That's what they call them.
Okay, so
it's like a brokerage within a brokerage.
Yeah. I don't know. I can tell you, I would not. I think you and I are very different. You definitely have the skills and are just much better at the management part than I am, and everyone.
So let's talk about actually running the real estate brokerage, mm-hmm. right? Like, what are some of the things that, if you are looking to start a brokerage, or if you have a brokerage, what are some of the things that you have to put in place? And it all comes back to, like, what are your objectives? And I think one thing that a lot of people don't understand, that they should understand up front, is that there's not a whole lot of profit in the brokerage side of the business. Like, the margin's pretty small, right? Before, when you first started, what were the commissions?
Healthy. They were 50-50. They were healthy commissions.
Right. So you would recruit somebody, you would be their broker of record, their broker manager, and the brokerage would keep 50% of the business that they brought in. Mm-hmm. Now it's a lot different. And obviously we've adapted our commission programs to have caps. So there's only a certain amount of money that comes in from the brokerage, and then there's just some smaller transaction fees. Yeah. So you really have to, in my opinion, you're either small or your objective is to go big, but you can't be in the middle. That's right. Because in the middle, you need too much staff to support, a few hundred agents, and the expenses of having everything are not going to meet you're just not going to meet your numbers, right? So there's some divisions of the business that I think are, really important. So branding is a big part of that. So there's certain things that you can talk about that you're better than me, and then there's certain things that I can talk about that I have more experience than you. So why don't you talk a little bit about, because this is a big part of why you started it, branding your own brokerage. And let's not talk to the big box companies. Let's talk to independent brokers. From a branding perspective, like, what does somebody have to do to build their brand as a brokerage? Because you built your brand as an agent,
right?
But what are some of the things that you helped? Because a lot of people know about Signature Realty, mm-hmm. right? It's very well known.
It's well known because when I was branding myself as an agent, you have to brand your company, right? You're not allowed to just brand yourself without having a logo, company logo. So obviously with me, with every marketing piece that I did for Michelle Pais, the agent, was attached to Signature Realty. So that obviously helped grow the brand. The journey, I think when people started to realize, oh my God, who is this person, and really get our name out there, is when I was on the cover of a magazine. I forget the name of what magazine it was, but I was on the cover of a magazine, and it went to 5,000 or 6,000 homeowners local in my area. And I think that's important. So when you're starting to brand the brokerage, make sure that you start small. Start with one town, right? The town either that you want to...
That you have your office in.
That you have, right. And that should be the town maybe where you live, or, whatever it is. But the town that you have your office in, that's the town that you want to start getting as much branding information in front of as many homeowners as possible. So at the time, 20 years ago, it was Springfield. So I was on a cover of a magazine, and it went to everyone in Springfield, New Jersey. So automatically, if they didn't know who I was, they knew who I was, because in their mailbox, they got this shiny magazine with me on the cover, obviously telling my story. And then from there, obviously the best branding that you can do is a for sale sign, right? And I tell people the best billboards you can have is having a sign on a busy street, right? Don't shy away from those listings or free billboards. So I would love getting listings on main streets because it was a free billboard. And at the time, I also branded the colors, everything that went into the building the brand. Okay, what colors are we doing? At the time, it was black, white, and red. Why did I choose red? Well, red is stop sign. It's visible. There's a reason why the stop sign is red, right? Little things like that. So definitely developed a design strategy behind it too. I wanted the company to be noticeable and not get lost. So I chose the colors wisely. I had designed my first time the sign because I didn't have money to be able to go out and buy a graphic designer or hire a graphic designer. Actually, I shouldn't say that. My partner was against spending too much on that stuff. So we ended up designing our own sign and our own logo and everything else. And then from there, it just started to do a ton of direct mail, flyers, open houses. Open houses were great because it was for those 4 hours, I made sure that I had as many open house signs on the ground as possible. So I literally canvassed the whole neighborhood, and I did, a ton of balloons. It was like a circus. So for those 4 hours, I got some free advertising. People knew who Signature Realty was because you couldn't drive down the main street without seeing our signs. And then I invested in the billboard in town, right? And by the way, that billboard, we have two. We still own that billboard. So what has it been, 10 years now? We still have that same billboard. So if you missed the signs, if you missed the postcards, if you missed the open house balloons and the writers and everything else, or the magazine in your mail, now you got to see the billboard. And then we got involved with community events and everything else. So, but I would say for the brokerages out there, small brokerages, start local. We started local, and then we started to expand our territory. So went from Springfield, then to Mountainside, then to Westfield, then to Scotch Plains, then to Summit, and then Short Hills, Ridgewood, Red Bank, Jersey City. I mean, we're all over now, but it originally started with just one town. It was manageable. And then as you start to grow, you start building your footprint.
Okay, cool. So from a branding perspective, obviously you guys are going to choose a location. You always recommend like places where people already know you, that you're probably involved. Maybe you have kids, school districts, things like that. Picking an office space. Does office space today matter? Do you need a small office space? Do you need big? What are people going to do? Because that's a big expense.
And it's a big expense, but I think you're probably better to answer that question than me. You're the one, running the office. I can say that it is important to have an office. I've always believed wholeheartedly that you need to have an office in the town, because people will judge you or decide to whether or not they want to work with you based on the office. So the whole virtual reality offices, and it's just, good luck with that. I know as a listing agent that the first thing that I get asked when I go on an appointment is, where is your office? And can I come visit you if I want to? If I tell them my office is in virtual land, I just don't know if I'm going to get, if I'm going to end up getting that listing over versus someone that actually has office locations. As far as size doesn't matter. You do not have to have a big office. The Michelle Pais group in our Westfield office is 1,000 square feet, and we're one of the top brokerages in the whole town. So, and there's big box brokerages that have 5 times the amount of space. So you don't need to go big. I'd say keep it small as long as you're in a good location where people can see you, that it's visible. I think that's the most important thing. Don't you agree?
So visibility, yeah.
Are you taking notes?
No, I'm just putting my thoughts down on paper as you're talking about this. So, you know, if you're looking to continue to grow your business, one of the most important things that we did at Signature Realty is obviously hire the right people, right? We brought on Michael Gomes as our Chief Operating Officer. We have 𝒉𝒂𝒕𝒖𝒓𝒆 𝑺𝒊𝒑, which handles a lot of our systems and technology. So having somebody that is going to help you with those systems, because as an independent brokerage, you're not bringing that technology in-house. You're kind of using other people's technology and subscribing to it. We'll talk about the different systems that we utilize. And then, you know, we still have Phyllis, right? She's actually head of compliance now. And then you're going to have broker managers to help with support. We have George Bellino. That's one of our broker managers, and he's head of support. So, you know, you need to put the right people in the right seats as you grow. And obviously you're going to want your business managers or yourself to be the recruiter, right? If you're a sales agent and you're a top producing agent, expect for your production to go down, right? Because you're going to be investing a lot of time into recruiting and business development, not to mention support, right? So if you bring somebody in for support right away, that's going to help you a lot. If you don't bring somebody in for support and you're doing all the support, then that's even more time that's going to go away from your production. So those key roles are really important in order to grow and build the brokerage. And I feel like without them, it would have been very difficult to be anywhere near where we are, right? I wouldn't have been able to get to the 400 agents that we're at now and I support them and make the commission payouts and, you know, all the stuff that we do on the back end for them. So that's important. I think another factor, you're not really involved in this part of it with Signature, but is onboarding. The way you onboard people, it's going to set the context for your business. It's going to be really important for how they understand what the purpose of the company is, what they have to do for support, and everything that comes with that. How can they get support? You know, getting them onboarded on all the systems that we have for transaction management, for compliance, you know, for basically everything that has to do with running the brokerage. And that's for new agents. You have a cadence, and then you have a different cadence for experienced agents because they're not going to need so much hand-holding, right? So that onboarding piece, if you don't do an actual onboarding workshop or an actual onboarding Zoom with people and walk them through how to get onboarded onto the company, it's going to be very difficult to retain those agents. You know, so those are a few pieces that are important.
And training. I mean, that's one of the biggest pieces.
Well, yeah, I mean, helping, it depends on who your ideal agent is. Like if I were to start all over again, you know, and helping you build the brokerage, I would have identified who the ideal agent that I wanted to be.
And who is that?
As part of Signature Realty.
And who is our ideal agent?
Well, hold on a second. So for anybody running a brokerage, that's what I would recommend that you do. Like which agent, meaning if you have the systems to support brand new agents and you're okay with sitting down and talking about contracts and listing agreements and like they don't know the foundational stuff yet because they're brand new, you know, that's a different type of training program than, well, I do 30 deals a year and I'm trying to get to 40 or 50, right? It's a different level of support, right? Or somebody coming in saying, hey, I'm a top producing agent. I want to build a team, right? So, you know, we've adapted to the new agent and the experienced agent because of how we started. We would just recruit everybody in the beginning, right? Now we've identified who our ideal agent is, and it's basically somebody that's a producing agent, has probably seen a brokerage or two, and they understand what's out there. What we've noticed is we will train an agent from the inception of their business right out of real estate school. They come to us, they're getting a ton of support, a ton of training, they're getting leads, they're on our referral platforms, they're on everything. They basically, it's almost like they're on a team, right? When you're at Signature Realty and you're new. But then they don't know what's out there. So some people tend to go after that shiny object. And that's what we've learned. Like, it's better to have an agent that's already been around the block a couple times and they know, oh, I've been to this company, I've been to that company. It's not exactly how they present it to be on their, their event or their webinar. They already understand that the grass is not greener, and now they're coming to us and they don't have that. It's kind of like a boyfriend and a girlfriend, that are, they've been with each other since high school and now they're in college and they're like, they've only been with one person and they're like, well, I want to experience what else is out there, right? It's kind of the same. It's a weird analogy, but that it kind of relates to it, right? It's like they don't know what else is out there, so they don't know what they're missing. So I'd rather, recruit agents actually not from right out of real estate school, but agents that have been at other offices so they can see that, that what we have is amazing and it's very different, right? We have a very unique selling proposition.
Right.
Especially agents that are coming from virtual companies, right? Because they don't have that environment, they don't have that community, they don't have that culture, and they have a different level of support than what we have.
And I also think it's really important. And listen, viewers, I really hope you listen to this message. Go with a company that understands the business aspect of it and understands and has a know-how to help you build and grow your team. I think that's important because I see that oftentimes, people just they don't know how to do it and they go with the brokerage and they're trying to figure out on their own, or just they know how to build their own brand, right? You have companies that are usually started by top producing agents. They know how to build their own brand, but they don't know how to help you build yours. Right. And I think what makes us very different is that we have both. We know how to build a brokerage. We obviously know how to build a brand, and we know how to build teams and business owners and
production
leaders.
As an independent agent.
And individual and leaders. I mean, how many, our offices that we have and that we're opening up, our managers that we're hiring are people that started with us as agents, right? So it's nice to be able to help them with that journey for those that aspire to be in the management role, or those that aspire to build a team, grow a team. I mean, with my team before, you and I got together, I was a team of 5. We were doing really well, but it was under your leadership and your guidance, and you played such a huge role with growing the Michelle Pais Group. Michelle Pais Group wouldn't be where it's at if it wasn't with your help as well. So, and I think that's really important if you guys do have aspirations of being a team, or if you are on a team and you want to grow your team, or if you suffer from what many of us suffer, whereas you are the producing agent on the team, and you may have a team of 10, 20, or 30, but are you doing 90% of the business as an agent? Then you don't have a team, right? So how do we transition you to become, the business owner of your team and have your team actually produce, right? That's something that you teach.
Right. That way you're not as good as your last transaction.
That's right. I mean, you did it with us.
Right.
Right. I was a producing agent. I was 90% of my team. And now I'm not. I'm a very small part of my team.
Well, when we met, you didn't have a team at all.
That's right.
You had 0 team.
Right. I was still been putting listings in the MLS and putting in for sale signs.
Yeah. I mean, you had Phyllis as your, secretary / runner / I don't know.
But basically, we've gone through every stage. We started from the single producer doing it all, to building of the team, then building of the brokerage, and then being able to, our last final step is being able to, if you wanted to one day step away, the business will continue without you, and that's the final last step. So
that's a true entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is when you've built a business where you're consulting for the business, right? You can provide the vision for the business, and then you have an operator that's growing the business and running it. Right now, I'm one of the operators of the business. You're one of the operators of your team, and you're stepping into a more of a leadership role in both companies, and we're growing the business. We're not at the point where we're stepping away yet.
No.
Okay, next important thing is support. Right? People, you need to have somebody that is in charge of support, but you have to have a cadence for support. What I mean by that is you have to let people know this is how you get support, right? And I don't recommend giving your cell phone out and saying, text me or call me anytime. That's not a very sustainable, scalable, thing, right? So we use something called live chat. Okay, so we use a system called Intercom on our website. We have a back-end system on our online university. And at any point, between I would say 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., if you go on live chat and you ask for a specific question, you also have a bunch of articles that pop up with keywords. You actually create the back end of that system. And a lot of the things that are going to be trained on over and over and over and over again, you create videos, right? That's called a system, where you have a system where a system is a step-by-step process, that you can follow to repeat a duplicatable task, right? So if you need to write up a purchase and sale contract or a listing agreement, well, how many times do you have to sit down and actually do a listing agreement with somebody? You can just explain it on a video thoroughly, with a few different scenarios. This is a rental, this is a single family, this is a multifamily, this is a commercial listing. Right. Create videos, put them on your platform, and then in your live chat help center, there could be keywords. So if somebody says, I need help with a listing, it'll say, here are 4 videos on how to create a listing, single families, multifamilies, commercial, etc. And then they can click on that video and get help. And then after they watch that video, they already have 90% of the information. Right. Now it's just you reviewing that listing agreement. Or maybe it's a 5-minute call instead of you going and spending an hour with them. Now, some people are like, well, I like to work hands-on. That's fine. Then work hands-on and be small and stay small. Because the reality of it is you just don't have the bandwidth to support 400, 500, agent, 1,000 agents if you want to grow to that, without having a system. So we use Intercom as our live chat and our help center. Okay, we use Kajabi for our educational platform. It's $200 a month for Kajabi. So that's where you can upload videos, you have course modules, you have downloadable resources, etc. And that's a really important piece.
Right, having your systems in place. And there's a lot. I mean, running a brokerage, owning a brokerage, there's a lot involved. And I do not recommend, if you are a producing agent, to do both.
It's very difficult to do both.
It's virtually impossible to do both. You're going to run yourself ragged, and you're not going to be as successful in either in the production or on the management side, because you're just wearing too many hats. Transaction
management, that's another important thing. So when you did transactions, when you started the brokerage and you did compliance, everything was paper files, right? And now we use something called SkySlope, where you can literally create a transaction, you have an email, and that email is tied to that transaction. All your documents can go there. It's got e-signing software on it and a bunch of other stuff. So if you're running a brokerage, I highly recommend, dotting your I's and crossing your T's, because you're the broker. You're going to be responsible for the compliance portion of this. So we put Phyllis in charge of compliance. She reviews all the files. And the way that we do it, and we've checked with the real estate commission on this, is if your file is not complete and compliant, you don't get paid. Okay, meaning you get notified like, hey, you're not getting paid yet until you make your file complete. And that's really important, because we're responsible ultimately for, making sure that every document is signed and we have every file that's complete. And that's important, because if you start paying people out, there's no pain in them completing that file. And then let's say somebody leaves and now you have 10 files that are not complete. They leave the brokerage, and now the real estate commission comes in and audits you. What do you do? Right. You have problems. Right. And at the end of the day, this is easy, right? Compliance is very easy, right? It's making sure that all the forms are in, we have everything signed, everything is dated, and it avoids a lot of problems, right?
And one thing I also want to point out, it is expensive to own a brokerage. It costs money. It's not just the rent, but you have a lot of fees involved.
Well, the staff is a lot.
You have the staff, you have...
board fees, MLS fees.
On and on and on and on.
Copier.
So, yeah, it's not...
Water cooler, cleaning company, toiletries. I mean, there's...
You're running your business. Welcome to being...
And there's a lot of subscriptions, right?
It's also expensive to build your brand. And even though you may not want to be or own a brokerage and you just want to, be the CEO of yourself, or if you have any aspirations of having a team, it's expensive every way. You have to invest in yourself in order to be able to get to the next level. Things cost money. Advertising costs money. For getting a listing, you have to invest into marketing that property for the homeowner. So, but owning a brokerage is definitely, it costs a significant amount of money, especially if you're buying, building, or if you're renting. You have the overhead for sure that you have to take into account. And, I would just say, and this, I'm taking a page out of my book because I spent the whole week rereading my book before it launches, and there was a chapter on brokerages. So I spent the week rereading my book because we're very close to launching it. And I know I've been saying this for a while, but I'm a perfectionist. And one of the topics that I talk about is a brokerage. If you have aspirations of opening a brokerage and you are getting involved with a partner, make sure that your plans and your vision aligns and put it in writing.
Yep.
And I'm just going to leave it at that.
And make sure you have a lawyer.
That's right. And make sure you have a lawyer review it.
Yeah,
and
a lot
also
of people don't understand that you have to have actual operating agreements.
Operating agreements and an exit strategy. Very important. Plans change, people change, partnership changes. What happens in 5 years when one of you isn't happy
or want to retire?
Or want to retire or go a different route. Just make sure that you are all on the same page. We're
actually going to talk about that tonight because we're going to do a training at 7 p.m. today talking about getting started in real estate investing. That's one of the topics that we're covering.
What, having
partnerships?
Partnerships,
right?
Yeah.
Like how important it is to do partnerships. And everybody thinks that when you start a partnership, it's 50-50, right? That's not true. Everything is not 50-50. It depends on what somebody else is bringing to the table.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
A lot of times people are like, oh, there's 3 people. Okay, it's 33% each. There's 4 people. It's 25% each. Well, it depends.
Right.
Right? And now where are you in your business? And what is the other person bringing to the table?
That's right.
A lot of people make that mistake, and then there's a lot of resentment. Like one person could be working full time and the other person's working part time. And they're like, well, wait a second. Why are we splitting this?
That's right.
Right? You're putting in half the time. I'm putting in all my time.
That's right.
And you're over there doing this business, making money, while I'm over here slaving away and then giving you 50%.
That's right. I mean, did you read my book? I feel like a page right out of my book, or a chapter out of my book. But that's true.
I edited some of it.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Just put everything in writing, and just who you pick with, who your partner in work, in business, and in life. I mean, pick them very wisely because it's a contract. And have it reviewed. So
it's like a marriage, right? When you're building a business, it's like you're getting married. I mean, we're married and we have a business.
We're still going strong. I still love you.
You say that a little hesitantly.
No.
She's like, I love you.
No. Listen, here's the thing, guys. If you can work well together, then that's it. I mean, actually, where did we start? We originally started working together, and then we got together, right? Didn't we start working together? No. Or no, we got together before? No, we originally met, and then my intention was strictly professional. I just wanted you to be on my team, and then, you had other intentions.
Please. That was like 24 hours later. I don't know what you're talking about.
But we make a good team, and so just, we're good.
I think, let's talk about some of the other things of, running and building the real estate brokerage. So another thing is commission and payouts, right? When this is a big piece of it, right? Because if you have to set a commission structure that makes sense, right? It needs to be profitable for the brokerage. You need to be able to pay all your expenses out. You need to be able to scale up and staff, right? And do all those things. And you also have to be competitive in the marketplace. And that's very difficult. There's such a fine line, right? And that's why there's a lot of brokerages that are not profitable. I think one of the reasons why we are profitable is because we run pretty lean, you know, as far as our expenses. We have 6 employees, and those employees, you know, it's like, you know, we have 400 agents. So we have, you know, for every 80 or 90 agents, we have 1 employee.
Right. And we also don't have any debt, right? We don't have debt. We don't have.
Well, I think the people that have debt end up hiring more people.
That's right.
Because they've borrowed money. You don't just get into debt, right? Some people raise money to build a business. We didn't do that. Right? They raise money to start, you know, oh, well, I want to open up an office and have these ideas, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And, you know, now they're at the mercy of these debt holders that have either a stake in the company, or they will have a stake in the company if you don't repay that loan, you know, or many other reasons, right? So definitely you got to be frugal, right? When you start, you got to be lean, and you have to put in a lot of hours, right? That's why if you're a top producing agent, just like you've built your business as an agent, well, that's the same work ethic that you need to have. So a lot of people go, well, I don't want to work so much in the business, and I want to slow down. And then
don't open a brokerage.
Then opening up a brokerage is not
it.
the answer if that's what you want to do.
No,
it's building your team, right?
That's right.
And then you hire an operator for your team to hopefully be able to make the same kind of income that you're making, as long as you're not the 90% producer on the team, right? If you're producing 90% of the business, then that's going to be tough. Then you have some other changes to make, right? You either have to increase your sales price and do less business and make the same amount of money because you've increased the sale price, or you have to, you know, create a recruiting strategy for your team so you can add, you know, good people to your team and build them up, and hopefully they don't leave you.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into that.
A lot.
So your commission structure is something you really need to think about, right? We've changed our commission structure 3 times. And I think this is the last time that we change it, because, you know, now we have an amazing revenue share program. But we started out as a traditional brokerage, right? When I met you,
Very traditional.
we changed it to 70-30, I believe. It was just a traditional 70-30 business. And then after you hit 100 grand, you would be at like 80 grand. So it was like similar to Keller Williams a little bit, right? And then we switched it to a $10,000 cap program. So everybody was on a 50-50 commission, but they only had to pay the company $10,000, right? So basically everybody at the company that did any business, we would bring in a total of $10,000.
That's right.
And then we had a transaction fee and a monthly fee. And now we have a revenue share program where we have 10, 15, and 20K caps, depending on the levels that you want. And, you know, the people that you recruit, you're going to make money on all of them. So that's where we landed, and I feel like we've experienced amazing feedback from it.
It's great, Pam. It's great. I mean, it was a great way of earning passive income. And we don't like to use the word recruit. I mean, I own Signature, and I get recruited every day from companies that I don't even think they realize
they
that
try to recruit.
They try,
yeah.
but they hire like these third-party people in the Philippines to call me. We are not, like, I don't like the word recruit. I like the word attract, right? So all you have to do is attract agents to the brand.
Can I change the word? Because I don't like the word attract.
Okay.
Because nobody's attracting anybody.
Okay.
It's
So what's
introduce.
Introduce.
Right? We're Signature Realty. We're not a big box brand.
Introduce.
When our agents introduce somebody to Signature Realty, they can decide if we're the right fit.
That's right.
And we could decide if they're the right fit.
That's right. It has to be the right fit on both ways. And
Right.
we don't hire just anybody. We're not. I mean, I think we're known for just being a little, selective, and it's good because you should be selective. It's your brand. Who you work with matters, who you want around matters. And, you're a reflection of us. So yes, we are selective. And and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. And I think, if you're running your brokerage, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. We've reinvented ourselves multiple times. We've changed all of our signs. We've changed our commission program. We've changed our office. We've changed our location. And every year we've grown.
That's right.
Right. And we've grown at a pretty good pace, right? Where this makes sense to do. And at the end of the day, like the why behind, me being part of Signature Realty and growing it has a lot to do with my upbringing and, my father wanting to save up money for a condo, and he never got to that point, right? We had some tragic things happen when I was a kid, and, that's that. And he was never able to fulfill that dream of home ownership. And he had a, mental illness called paranoid schizophrenia. And, he literally wasn't able to do it. And home ownership is such a beautiful thing, right? It's part of the American dream. And I know there's some people out there talking about like, don't buy a house or don't do this. I think if you can do it, it's one of the best decisions that you can make in your whole life, right? And it's not just about pride, it's also about building your legacy. You can leave something behind as long as you're smart with your money, right?
That's right.
And there's so many opportunities in real estate to go about it whatever way fits your needs. And that's amazing. And we took it a step further. Instead of just, doing it for ourselves, now we train other agents to help people transact, buy, sell, buy investment properties, buildings for their businesses, and really build wealth through real estate, through us. And that's a beautiful thing. We sold, over 10,000 homes, right, in the last few years. So we're helping a lot of people accomplish that dream of home ownership. And we take that education, I think, to the next level because we train our agents a lot. We're always, talking about all the programs that are available to everybody, right? From the grants that are in New Jersey to the first-time homebuyer credits to how to access capital for your first-time home purchase, for investment properties, and really teaching people that otherwise, without that knowledge and information, they probably wouldn't have bought a house. Right? Or maybe it would have taken him a few more years to do it. It's really important that you're not afraid to reinvent yourself. And Tony Robbins says something that I want to share. He says, don't fall in love with your product, right? Don't fall in love with your brokerage. Don't fall in love with your commission plan. Fall in love with the customer, right? And for us, our customer is our agent, right? Obviously, home buyers and sellers are also our customers, through our agents, but our agents are our customer. We train them. We provide customer service to the real estate agent. When they need support and training, they come to us, right? They're the ones that we support, and we fell in love with serving that agent so they can serve a lot of other people. And I think that's an important context and mindset for business owners that are in the space to think about because it's such an evolving business. That if you're not in love with what you're doing and you're not excited about what you're doing with your agents, it's going to be really tough because it's a tough business.
Very tough.
Right? Agents will send you an email after you've worked with them for a year and a half, helping them build their business, and they send you an email and they say, thanks for everything. Please release my license. Like literally that's what happens. So you have to have a passion beyond each agent.
That's right.
Right? You have to be committed to everybody's success, but not attached to everybody's outcome. And it's an interesting business like that, right? And all these things that we're sharing with you, you're basically our competition, right? If you're running a real estate brokerage, you're our competition. But it's having that abundance mentality.
Yeah, and there's something right, absolutely. And competition also, especially in this industry, there's nothing wrong with having competition as long as it's healthy competition. And I don't want to go down this road, but I just feel like competition has such a negative stigma attached to it. It doesn't have to be.
No, look, at the end of the day, we all collaborate.
That's right. Well, most of us do.
No, meaning like we put a house on the MLS.
Yeah.
And we have agents every day calling us to show our listing. And then we work together on a transaction to get to a closing.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Right. But I just think the mindset, should be that we're all in this together. We're all brokers. We're all, we need to respect each other. We need to collaborate with each other and, not try to bring each other down all the time. Just my two takes on
that.
Yeah, and
I think 90% of the agents are great. I think there's 10% of the agents that are bad apples, that are drama queens, that talk crap about one another because they're not confident.
And we have one rule at Signature Realty, which is no drama, right? No drama.
The no drama rule.
No negativity, and that's just something that we don't tolerate. And that's why our culture is we have such a good culture because,
setting your code of honor.
I was going to just get into that. The code of honor, it starts from the top. Like who are you? What kind of people do you want to attract? What are your values, right? What are your morals? people are going to learn from you. So you need to you need to lead by example.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. If you go to church, right, you probably won't be cursing if you curse in your normal life. You don't curse in church, right? You're probably going to talk a little bit lighter. You're probably going to be a little bit more polite to people. Why? Because your environment changes your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are setting a context in your physical or virtual environment amongst your tribe of agents, that context is going to be followed, right? Because you're the leader. So obviously there's going to be some people that step out of line, and you're going to have to, you know, set context and do what you have to do there. But setting that code of honor and those values is super important. Like she mentioned, the no drama rule. Basically, the no drama rule, the way that we explain it is, don't talk to somebody about a problem, right, to somebody that can't solve the problem. That's called being, you know, gossipy, doing drama, right? And it doesn't help you and it doesn't serve you. So let's say, you know, there's something going on with another agent. Well, if the broker can help you solve that problem, go to the broker. Right. Don't talk to 10 other agents about what that agent did or said to you, because that's not going to serve you.
Yeah.
Right? Then that creates a negative morale within your community.
Right.
And if there's a cancer, you got to get rid of them.
Yeah, cut it out.
Right?
Cut it out. Well, this is great, babe.
Yeah, I think these are some really good pieces of information. We are doing indie masterminds. So if you're watching this and you're interested in doing a mastermind with us, and to qualify for the mastermind, it doesn't cost any money. In some cases, we might have like food or something, so you just cover your portion of the food. But there's not an expense to being part of the mastermind. If you're an independent broker in New Jersey, or maybe even outside of New Jersey, and you're interested in masterminding with us, reach out to me directly, and I'll send you our next event that's coming up. We're going to try to put these on ongoingly so we could just all lift each other up and create an environment where all of us can share. And if you're at a big box broker, I don't want to hear from you if you're a broker, because you don't understand what being an independent broker is like. And we're looking to mastermind and brainstorm with only independently owned brokerages. Is that fair or is that too rough?
I promise he doesn't bite. He's really, really nice, guys. That was awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And why don't you finish it off?
No, yeah, guys, subscribe. We've done quite a few of these already. So if you're interested in learning about, you know, real estate investing, real estate agent, building a brand, building your business, we're always sharing tips on here and our experience. That's why we do this. We want to give back. And if you are a real estate agent in the New Jersey area and you want to learn more about Signature Realty and our RevShare program, you can visit exploresignature.com, or you can reach out to us personally. But subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on Spotify, and hopefully you'll like and comment on our podcast. Also, if you're a real estate investor or aspiring real estate investor, we are actually holding an event in March. On March 13th, we're holding an event on a top investor panel. So we have Lenny Hernandez, George Bellino, Mike Gomes, Hugo Alves, all top investors. I'm going to be facilitating that panel, and we're going to have a full buffet dinner. It's at the Westwood in Garwood, New Jersey, in Union County, and you can visit njresn.com to RSVP for that. Hope to see you guys there.